Hi, welcome once again to yet another episode of Solid Wood Cutting Boards. I'm Francois. Today I want to talk a little bit about this whole lockdown episode. And life has changed quite a bit for everybody. So we do not have a lot of socialization anymore with our friends and family. And we do all of that on our mobile phones or on Skype, on a computer or on a laptop or something like that. I use my cell phone quite a lot to connect with all my friends and on social media. And actually at the moment I'm filming this video with my cell phone. The camera technologies in the cell phones changed quite a bit over the last few years. And I get almost the same quality from my cell phone as that I get from my DSLR or my video camera. So that made me think always it's an issue, where do you put your cell phone when you are chatting with friends? If you want to have dinner and you want to join your friends for dinner, you want to put your cell phone on a table somewhere. And it's always, you need to find a bottle or something to lean the telephone against. So I thought I might build a small docking station for my cell phone. That makes things a little bit easier. I also use my cell phone for a bit of work as well, for meeting, communication, and things like that. In evenings when you want to watch a movie or some YouTube videos, it's convenient to have your cell phone set up on your bedside table and it can stay in the suitable position. I basically just want a small box container where the cell phone slides in so that it's secure. At the back of the container I want a few holes in there so that the back camera can, you can still use the back camera, so you can put your phone on a stand and you can still swap between the selfie and the back camera. And yeah, let's take it from there. I haven't drawn up something detailed, or I'm just going to go with it. I've got an idea in my head what I want. So yeah, let's start with it. The wood where I want to use it, I've got a piece of offcut here that's left over from a previous project. That's Blackwood, actually from the Knysna area. You'll find it there. And yeah, I'm going to use that, and let's start cutting and measuring, and you can follow me along. Thanks for all the guys that have subscribed this far. I appreciate it really a lot, and it helps me a lot to promote the channel and grow the channel a little bit bigger. Thanks for all the guys that left some comments and the messages that I got. I appreciate that a lot. If you like the video, please click the thumbs up so it can start working in that algorithm for YouTube. So yeah, let's get going. Thank you. So let's start measuring the cell phone. So that's 174 millimeters by 100 millimeters. So that's going to be the size, and the thickness in the region of 22 millimeters. So the piece of Blackwood that I have is it's a little bit thick. I want to cut it a bit thinner. It's currently at 20 millimeters thick. So I think I'm going to resaw it in half. I'm going to use my bandsaw just to cut it in half. And first I want to cut off a small piece on the miter saw, and then I want to split it in half on the bandsaw. So I've split it now in half, and I've planed it smooth on both sides. So now I want to cut it about 100 millimeters wide. So I've got an extra pair of wood. I'm just going to build two while I'm busy with it. But before I cut it on 100 millimeters, I want to cut 11 millimeter rabbet here on the side of the piece of wood. I will use that on the sides to secure the sulfur on the side. You will see when we get there. But it's just easier to cut that rabbet while you still have a big piece of wood to hold on. If you cut it off now, you will have a really tiny piece to work with, and it will make it a little bit difficult on the router. So let's cut it now on the router. Let's cut that rabbet in, and then we can cut it off with the miter saw on the right length. So I'm going to use this 16 millimeter straight cut bit to cut the rabbet. So my rifle is mounted here underneath my table saw. I'm just going to replace the bit. A little bit of dust here. Nice and flush. Just put this tip away. I'm going to use this fence. So now that I have the two rabbets cut, I'm going to cut it off around about here. And this guy doesn't have a care in the world what's going on around him. So now there's two cuts that we have to make. The first cut is we want to cut this piece off here. The width needs to be 11.5 millimeters, so this needs to be a real accurate cut. If this cut is too wide, my cell phone will be too loose in the holder and it can flap around. So the first one is 11.5 millimeters. If you want, you can cut it a little bit longer and then just take a spoke shave or something and bring it to final size. And the second cut that I want to do, I want to cut it on the right hand side, just over there. That. So now you want to take your miter saw and you just want to cut to the right side of the line that you've drawn. So to see exactly where you're going to cut, one trick that you can do with your miter saw, you can adjust your blade so that it just touches the line, and then you can run the saw on that line and you will see exactly where it's going to cut. So I'm happy with that. That's as close as you can get to 11.5. So now the second cut I want to do is just on the left hand side of the rabbet over here. So now you want to cut on the left end of your line. Now this is how your component looks like. So now your cell phone can slide in here, and this will retain your cell phone. So now we must cut the final width that the holder would be, and we said that would be 100 millimeters. So now we can decide, do we want to cut it on top or cut it at the bottom? I like the darker part of the wood better, so I'm going to cut the lighter piece off at the 100 millimeters. So this piece of wood is becoming a little bit narrow, and I don't want my fingers close to the blade anymore. So remember, we need to cut now on the right hand side of your strip. So what I'll do is, I'll set up my blade. I walk it on the line, following the line nicely. Take my hold down stick. Accurate and safe cut. So perhaps just a quick tip. If you look at the quality of the cuts that I achieve on my miter saw, you will see there's absolutely no tear out on the edges. Even the cross cut that I did earlier on, there's no tear out on the sides of the wood. And there's almost no sanding. So the blade is really sharp. But to achieve this, to minimize any tear out that you have on the edges when you do a cut, you will see this blade guide. I'm not sure what the right term for this is. You will see I've replaced the original one with a wooden one. The reason for this being is, so this is called a zero clearance guide. So that's exactly the same width as my blade. So what you will do is you will install a piece of wood here, make sure it is level to the surface. So if you move anything on top of it, over it, that it doesn't hook onto it. And then you basically take your blade and you cut a slot in this guide or in this fence. So this will prevent any tear out. So as soon as the blade passes underneath the wood, this guide is supporting your wood underneath, and it prevents any tear out from the sides. It's really easy to do. If you do miter cuts, it will get damaged a bit, and to replace it, you just take a piece of off-cut hardwood and put a new one on. Quick and easy. So there's still one component that I need to cut, but if I have this will be the backboard of the cell phone holder. So I will glue this now on the sides, like this. So at the end of the day, when everything is glued up, your cell phone can slide in from the top, and it will be secured with this little lip at the back. So we still need to have a piece at the bottom, a nice thick piece of wood at the bottom. This will help you to add any screws or hardware that you want to add at the bottom side of your cell phone holder, so that you have got some meat to drill into and to make it nice and secure. So for the camera, we need to do a cutout for the back camera of the phone. So when the phone is in the cell phone holder, that the camera, you can use the back camera. So I'm going to use a 5mm straight trim router bit to cut the hole. I'm first going to try to do it freehand. if it doesn't work, I will build a fence or something to make it a bit more neater. But for now, I'm just going to try to cut it freehand and see how it comes out. So the cutouts for the phone's camera came out quite nicely. So now I'm going to start gluing up the bottom support like this. Cut the sides to length. And then one thing is left. I'm going to do it also when it's assembled fully. I want to cut the holes for the charging port and the microphone on the sides, and the speaker on the sides of the docking station. So to cut that now, this piece is also a little bit small to get a proper hold onto the router. I think if everything is assembled, you have a bigger piece to hold onto and cut the grooves in. It doesn't have to be precise, so it's a no-brainer. So let's start gluing the things together. So like I said, I'm going to use super glue to put these pieces together. It will be plenty strong for this application. You take some of this activator, spray like coat, and you have to move really quick, because the moment when you put pressure on this, it sticks for life. Now we have to glue the sides on. So you have a little bit peel out of super glue here in the corner. It's not unsightly, but if you want to remove it, you just take a sharp chisel with a lot of pressure, because the super glue is very hard, and then you scrape the corner. And there you have a nice finished corner. So now we can start gluing the sides on. A little bit of super glue. So now I'm not going to put activator on, because it's going to dry too quickly, and I first want to move it in position. So now they are glued together. So now I'm just going to take my miter saw and cut this edge straight, and this extra pieces I'm going to cut them off. So to cut this edge straight, you can just align it with this zero clearance guide here. So this one edge is still a little bit proud. I'm just taking my hand plane. Perfectly flat. So I've marked out the marks where the slots needs to be for the charging point. So there's a speaker, charging point, the microphone this side, and this side on top there's also a small space for a microphone. So there's just one hole that we need to drill, and here we need to cut a slot on the router. So all the slots are cut on the side, so you have your charging port and your microphone and your speaker. This side also, I think it's a microphone that's on this side. So now all we need is a little slot on the back here. So if your phone is inserted into the holder or the docking station, you can easily take it and remove it from the docking station. So I'm going to cut that on my drill press, and I think I'm going to do in the region of 30 millimeters. I will check what size drill bits I've got, and yeah, let's start cutting that. So to do 2 repetitive cuts, I'm going to use my fence on my drill press. So I'm just going to find the center. So I'm going to move the fence against my workpiece and tie it down. Then I also have this guide on the jig, move it against my workpiece there. So now the workpiece is nice and sturdy and it can't move. So I had a little bit of tear out here on the side, but we can disguise that with a bit of sanding. So for the base of the docking station, I'm going to use a tree stump. I think it will be nice and sturdy and will have a nice look to it. So the piece of wood that I'm going to use is called Ulinote. So in order to cut that safely on the bandsaw, you need to mount it on a piece of MDF to keep it nice and sturdy. I will show you now how I do it. I've already cut one piece. I just want to move it on and cut the next piece. So to cut this stereo on the bandsaw, you mount it on a piece of MDF. Then I use my fence on my bandsaw. Nice and straight cut. So I'm thinking about the mechanism that I want to put on here. So I want the pivot just forward and backwards. The pan you can do by turning this piece of base around. So I just want the pivot forward and backwards. So I think I'm going to take a piece of this Blackwood. I'm going to put it in the middle. I'm going to cut a slot in there. And I'm going to take a little bit of this rosewood to add it in between. So then I'm going to add this rosewood to the base. So I want to start by cutting a slot in here so that this piece can fit in there. cut that groove in and I cut it off on the miter saw. So this fit in nice and snug. So now I want to put a small screw in there. So I have these small brass inserts that I want to put in here so that we can adjust it with an Allen key. So let's try a second attempt. So you need to keep this piece of wood in the center, otherwise you will crush it this way. Perfect, perfect. I think this will do the job. So to be sure, I'm just going to drill an extra hole, add an extra screw at the base. Really nice. It's always satisfying when you are trying something and it works out. Just want to get that Allen key again. I think this screwdriver is really strong, and if I over tighten that, it will break the wood. So let's put some Danish oil on. This is my favorite finish for all furniture inside the house. Look at that beautiful color of the wood coming out. You must actually flood the wood with the oil, so you must not put it on sparingly. So that will go into the wood. Because it contains boiled linseed oil, it will dry out and form a layer. So after about 24 to 48 hours I put the second coat on. And what I do with the second coat is I rub it on, I will leave it for 1 hour to dry, then I will rub it off. Then I will wait 24 hours, then I will rub on the next layer up until you have a smooth shiny surface. You can put on boiled linseed oil as well. It's also a good finish for indoors and outdoors. It's a very durable finish. It just takes a very long time to get the wood properly saturated. So I'm getting my burning iron ready here. So I just take a propane torch and stand it up behind it to heat it up a little bit. Doesn't have to be red hot, just hot enough. So normally I will test on a piece of offcut wood, but the same type of wood that I want to burn. I will just test on a piece first, and when I see it's hot enough, then I will move to my workpiece to put my branding on there. So I always put a little bit of Danish oil on first before I put my branding on. So the oil burns a little bit easier than the wood, and it leaves a nice dark background on your burning, on your logo that you burn on. So I think it's almost ready. So I have a test piece. So let's quickly burn the test piece and see how it comes out. And then let's put it in the drill press. You don't need a lot of pressure to burn it. I think it's actually a little bit too hot, but it will work like that. So the docking station is finished now. I will give it perhaps another coat in a day or two's time, if it's necessary, but I don't think so. So we've come to the end of this episode. I'm really pleased, by the way, this docking station came out. If you want to call it a docking station, I'm not sure what the right word for it would be, but let's call it a docking station. And yeah, stay safe out there, and I will see you on the next project. Thanks for watching. Bye bye. Slaap je lekker? Ik ga nou ophou raas hoor, dan kun je lekker slapen.